message.
All right, so today is Friday. My name is Kwame Owusu. So, I mean, the fire has even started even before we start the newspaper review segment. My name is Kwame Owusu. I'm super excited to come your way with the newspaper review segment. I apologize for the late start of the show. I really do greatly apologize for the late start of the show. Let me say a big thank you to our partners and our sponsors, Ridge Royal Hotel, which is situated in Cape Coast, a beautiful hotel by all standards, within a very serene lake of tranquility. You know, so when you are there, you enjoy yourself very well. When you are there, you are able to think and plan ahead. You know, and after COVID-19, I think that the best place to just go and relax is Ridge Royal Hotel. Undoubtedly, it's a very beautiful edifice, and I think that the team here at Pan African Television will best attest to what I'm saying. I mean, they went there and they experienced, you know, the ambience, the beautiful facilities that they have, beautifully done. And you see, because of COVID-19, the safety protocol, oh my goodness, properly followed. From the security to the reception to the rooms, everything is done in a very beautiful manner. Nicely done. Ridge Royal Hotel, richly inviting, comfortably yours. And also a big thank you to Akosomo Textiles Limited. Now, listen, I've been telling you, if you've been seeing my pictures lately, you see I've changed. You know, I'm not just looking handsome, but I'm looking bodily handsome too. Not facial handsome, bodily handsome and everything handsome. And it's by the kindness courtesy of Akosomo Textiles Limited. Also, a big thank you to Nestle Ghana Limited for supporting the morning, sponsoring the morning show. Grateful to you for sponsoring us, and I'm sure that you know, when you wake up in the morning, it's either you drink Milo or nothing else. Yeah, I mean, Milo is Milo. You know, Milo fills your belly. It can take you throughout the day. If you're a Muslim and you like to fast, you have to drink Milo as early as 4, so that when the fasting starts, you'll be strong enough to go through the day. So I would say he enjoys Milo. No, I know he enjoys Milo. All right, I've been joined in the studios by the whole family, with the exception of Bernard, but ably replaced, or if you will, assisted, or if you will, sitting in for him. But Honorable Ebi Hussein is here seated, and he is the MP for Sagnarigo constituency, undoubtedly the #1 person in Sagnarigo constituency. You know, with Fitam, you see, unless he say, Kwame, I'm tired, you know, Kwame, I won't go again. But the people love him. The Britannia people of Sagnarigo definitely do love Honorable Ebi Hussein, and I've been told that they're going to maintain him, and that is all we want. You see, politics is about representation. Do you have somebody who represents you properly? Do you have somebody who is able to articulate the plight of the people? If you do, then don't only concern yourself with, you see, sometimes we concern ourselves so much with how much we'll get now. No. Get somebody who represents you properly and who will be able to articulate and defend you, you know, whenever he gets the opportunity to. And Ebi Hussein does that. So I think that on the basis of that, we have to maintain him as the MP for Sagnarigo constituency. The man that we've missed for a long time is here. His name is Sabu Adam. And, you know, for some time now, Sabu was quarantining himself without even being infected by COVID-19. He decided to stay away from the public because, you know, his color, you know, he's a fair, well, if you're a white man, fair man, you are susceptible. I'm just joking, don't mind me. But Sabu is here today. We thank you, Sabu, for your time. And, of course, Desmond is also here and representing the flag of the PNC. We're going to have a very wonderful time today. Now, let me quickly take you through the topics that we've tabled for our conversation here this morning. Now, Year of Return, the Africa Report exposes fictitious figures that has been captured prominently by the Insight newspaper, and it's on the front page of the Insight newspaper. The story also continues on page 3 of the #1 newspaper in the whole of Africa, the Insight newspaper. Building on water courses, human activities cause floods. Daily Graphic also says that it's not like we don't know this thing, but I'm sure we'll find a way of getting some explanations and some solutions from today's conversation. Supreme Court rules on NDC-EC case, June 23rd, on June 23rd. Daily Graphic also reported that story. Missing illicit drugs, Narcotic Control Commission charges at Custom Division. Ghanaian Times reported that story. So it's a full bouquet of very important stories from all sectors, and that is what defines the morning show. We don't only specifically resign ourselves to discussing populist topics. We discuss topics that have the characteristics of a national agenda. And so we're going to be looking at these issues. Gentlemen, thank you very, very sincerely for your time today. And I hope that we're going to have a very wonderful discourse this morning. Sabo, a special welcome back.
Thank you.
Very well. Now, let's.
In fact, it's so unfortunate that my brother Bramona is not here. He's the one that I actually prepared for.
Yeah, you wanted to mafia him, man.
My elder brother and that's one, they're just going to be innocent victims of my attack.
Of your patrol, eh? Please, can I have the Insight newspaper? Well, I actually, okay, I have it here. Sorry, I have it here. I actually read that Africa report. And essentially, you remember that, that's when I'm starting with you. Remember that when this whole concept of year of return was hatched, all of us were very happy, especially knowing that most countries derive a lot of revenue from tourism. And the year of return was designed in order that we can also generate some level of revenue from tourism. And you know that we have ostracized the activities of tourism and the important role that it plays in our national discourse. And so I was very, very excited about it. I mean, what even made me more excited was also about the fact that we were being told that the whole exercise had generated some very important figures. You know, some substantial revenues were generated from the year of return. I think it spoke about $1 billion or something like that, $1.5 million or something like that. And I was very excited about 100 million. Yeah, I was very excited about that. Fast forward, we're getting to know that it appears those figures that were bandied about were not a true representation of what the realities were or still are. Now, really, for me, I'm disappointed if that turns out to be true because of the benefit that I know that we can get from tourism. So I am a little bit worried about that. But let's look at the year of return, the important role it played in exposing Ghana and putting Ghana, or if you will, highlighting Ghana to a certain extent to the rest of the world. And also the revenues that we accrued from SIM, and which revenues could have aided in procuring some level of development and growth within, you know, the tourist attraction areas and things like that. I feel that we could have used that to even expand the sector of tourism in Ghana, and that would have also brought us a lot of revenue. Citing inspirations from Rwanda, for instance, because you know they don't have any natural resource or anything, they only have human resource. But one of the key elements of revenue generation or mobilization is tourism. And they're able to even project that this year they will make so and so amount, the following year with this investment they will make so and so amount. So it's a big, big, big business that people are really generating a lot of revenues from. Are you disappointed, first of all, that we are being told now that the figures that we put out were not exactly what it was? And also that the tourism sector is not seeing the level of growth, really, that will have attending benefits for the nation. Desmond.
Okay, thank you very much. And let me first of all greet my senior brother Honorable and my brother Sabu and yourself, your crew, and everyone who is watching us across the continent and Ghana as well. Kwame, this tourism issue, year of return, when it came up, I was asking myself some few questions that we've been talking about tourism in Ghana, but which sites, where are our tourism sites? Which areas does it attract tourists? You realize that if you look at even the routes leading to our tourist sites, it's very bad. And so, going forward, or let me say, if tourists comes into this country and they want to embark on a tour, and first of all, your road is not even movable, how would they be able to go there to have a look at the various interesting sites that you have? I once went to where we have this biggest tree in Africa. It's around Achim Akrosu area. And when we got there, in fact, if you look at the road that led us to the place, you ask yourself, how many people can be able to go and visit the sites? And so when they came out with the figures, saying that at the end of this year of return, they were able to get such an amount, I was like, hey, are we serious as a country? Because how can't you come out with the real figures, the real facts, and at the end of the day, whom do you want to impress? Whom do you want to impress? Just take a look at our various tourist sites and compare to the tourist sites of Kenya, Ethiopia, and some other countries. And you find out that, look, we are really joking. Because even the castle that we always boast of, when you visit Castle now, there's no proper maintenance going on there. If you look at our Kakum Park, even the walkway, sometimes people get scared going there to just use it. Because at the end of the day, those who are taking charge of it doesn't take good care of it. So for them, or for me, knowing these figures from the onset, I just said that, look, these figures has been manufactured. Because there's no way we are going to get these figures or this amount coming from what they term as the so-called year of return. How many people returned to Ghana? And how many people were able to visit our tourist sites? Sometimes, when this government comes out with figures, you wonder where they cook the figures from. And I'm happy Sabo is here, because Sabo is going to answer where they cook those figures from. Because at the end of the day, they alone know where the figures come from. Meanwhile, we have people on the ground who are telling us that, look, what you are telling us is not the truth. But you have people coming out to say that, oh, it was a success. We've been able to achieve our target. This is what we wanted, and we've been able to get it. But meanwhile, it is not true. This government is ruling Ghana on the basis of lies. Why am I saying this? This year of return money is not the only money that they have lied to us. Always they will lie to us, and then later on, they will come and tell us the president was misled. I hope that this one, they will not come and tell us that the president was misled again. Because I don't see this year of return money being the actual money that they got. Because for me, the tourist sites doesn't look well organized for them to, come out with such figures. And so this is what I want to talk about it. Okay. Because for me, when they come out to lie to us, I always tell them that, look, if you continue lying, one day the lies can never be truth. Because lies are always lies.
Thank you very much, Desmond. Let me just quickly read something about the year of return to aid our conversation. So the figure that I was referring to was $1.9 billion by way of revenue. That was what was put out. But most importantly, the Immigration Service said that Americans arriving in Ghana increased by 26% to their highest ever rate between January and September of 2019. The numbers of visitors from the UK increased by 24%, Germany 22%, South Africa 10%, and Liberia 14% also grew. All told, Ghana reportedly issued 800,000 visas last year and announced that all nationalities will be eligible to receive a visa on arrival for the next month or so due to the heavy demand. So while the year of return has been laudable in many ways, its exclusive focus on the transatlantic trade with the U.S. at the center has erased other crucially important aspects of and legacies of Ghana's history of slavery. This history is much more layered than the campaign will have us believe. So it goes on and on and on and on. And I think that it feeds latently into the argument made by Desmond that we failed to create a certain level of integration, when it came to the tourist sites that we have in Ghana, because we have some in Paga, we have the Monkey Sanctuary, we have There's even a fort on our way to Takrady last weekend. There was even a fort that we saw. Justice even wanted to do a story on that, you know, but we couldn't because of time constraints and things like that. But clearly, we have a lot of tourist attraction areas. And so if we are not able to, and Sabo, I'm staying with you, I'm coming to you. If we say that we have generated 1.9 billion, 1.9 billion from what? Is it 1.9 billion just from people visiting the country, or it's 1.9 billion for people visiting, you know, the tourist areas that we have, tourism areas that we have in this country? Sabu.
Thank you, Kwame. Let me take this opportunity to say good morning to our cherished viewers, and then a good morning to my elder brother and my brother Desmond, who is an unfortunate
receiver.
I'm telling you. And then Kwame, to yourself. For you, I've been with you all this while, though not physically.
Let me question him before he goes. If somebody passes bad air on you, you don't bring out serious retaliate. You bring out the reality, so you should be careful.
For advice, well taken. Kwame, with regards to this particular issue, in fact, I'm glad the way you started it, that if the story turns out to be true, and I think that's the best way to put it, because for now it will still remain speculative until maybe further proven with facts and figures. Then that is where we can nail down the government. But having said that, I also know that in economic terms, we have what we call projection. So maybe they might be mixing the projected figure with the real figures or the actuals that was actually achieved. So that one too, we need to look into that particular.
I think the minister was emphatic that we generated some $1.9 billion.
That's what I'm only putting, because I have not even had the opportunity to listen. Quite apart from that, in accounting principle, I don't think figures are like statements where they may have different meaning. Figures have only one meaning all over the world. Wherever, if it is 1 + 1, wherever you go, regardless of the language that is going to use to interpret it, it will still remain 1 + 1. So, if it is figures, and the minister came, let's just assume that he came out to say that we had 1.something billion US dollars. Then it means that before he came out, he might have actually prepared all his distance to have gotten the figures and everything before coming out to talk about that. Of course, and this is about governance, this is about administration. The records will be there for us to even do, and even if there are some malfeasance, there are experts who can actually detect to know that indeed this record was supposed to be this way. How come it is this way? So I think the best thing, if somebody has problem with it, to raise the issue before the appropriate courts for an investigation to be launched into it. But for us to sit here and just say anything, of course, maybe we may only try to, alarm the supposed authorities, to do something about it. But Kwame, I'm rather much more interested in the tourism, opportunities that are within this country and how best we can utilize it. And to me, it's like this year of return. I think it started with something like that during President Kufuor's time. It was something like that. What was the name? One day we used to get at Cape Coast.
Is it a...
No, there was
Emancipation?
It was emancipation. Okay, good. And now it has now been coined as...
There's also Panafest.
Panafest. It's the Panafest I'm looking for. No, it's the Panafest that I'm looking for. That's what I said during President Kufuor's time. The Panafest that I'm actually talking about. It's somewhere along the line. It died.
It's still there, but
yes.
As robust as
yes. And now it has been reinvigorated, or if I should put it, revitalized by being renamed as Year of Return. And these people are now coming in. Kwame, let me first look at those who are supposed to be attracted to Ghana. Then we now come into Ghana and look at why they are attracted to Ghana. The Germans have an interest in Ghana. The British, the Americans, and the Portuguese, and to a large extent the French. because of Trans-Togoland, this and that they used to occupy some years back. If you look at the Germans, for instance, those who come in from the Dagbon Kingdom, we have a very close history with them when it comes to the colonial, the Adibo War. And I believe, as we speak, even in German, they have some history about this particular Adibo, this small town called Adibo in the Dagbon Kingdom and the rest. So I believe the Germans have an interest actually trying to know which part of Ghana is this Adibo located, and how are the people that they were so bold enough to fight the so-called Gauls those days and the rest. Then quite apart from that too, the same Germans, when you go to Volta region, that is why if you look at the Voltarians until recent times, in Ghana, they were the technical people of Ghana when it comes to carpentry and the rest, because they were purely trained by the Germans. I know the Germans are technically inclined and the rest. So Volta region and the rest of the Germans have a lot of interest. And it's also cut across, That's why the Trans-Togoland distance, that's why they were in the Volta region and the rest. So that place too, I think there's a lot of history that has to do with the people of Ghana and Germans. That I believe when we are able to package our distance very well, it will attract the Germans to come to Ghana just because of this particular history that they left behind, to see how they can pick the bits and pieces of all these things to put them to shape. Then the Portuguese, of course, Kwame, I think in our primary schools days, we read something about the Portuguese, that they were the first to actually land on from Europe to Ghana and the rest. So most of even the Elmina area and the rest, all the castles that we are seeing were actually built by the Portuguese and not the British and the rest. So for them, they also have a very strong connections with the Ghanaian society. And then, of course, the Americans. I have brought in the Americans because after all these people came in, or during the time that they were actually within Ghana, the black Americans that we have today, most of them were actually stolen from the hinterlands and the coast of Ghana to America. And for that matter, Americans also have a lot of interest in Ghana here. But Kwame, some of the tourist sites that I feel sometimes is like we don't normally pay much attention to as a country. Let me start from where I come from the north. For instance, like this Adibo township that I'm talking about, Salaga Market. You come to Adibo, you come to Salaga Market, then you move up to the, what do you call it, Damango Game. Then you come to Larbanga Mocks. Then you go to Upper West, you go to the Hippopotamus distance, what do you call it, that river that contains a lot of hippopotamus. Then, like you rightly mentioned, you go to Paga, the crocodile distance. Then the people of Upper East themselves,
they have a culture.
They had a particular culture. They used to live in caves. They were not actually putting up buildings. They had the natural stone distance, then they will carve it in a way, where there are caves and the rest, and they lived in it. And that most of them were able to escape these slave traders, because of these caves that they had in those days. And up to now, those caves are still there. And I believe when we are able to put our message together very well, these are things that are going to attract a lot of tourists into the country. And then when you go to the Gambaga escarpment, it's another area that, of course, when we package our distance. And, of course, the Yana, as you see today, the Yana actually in Ghana started from Upper East. The kingdom actually started from Upper East. And that is where they normally call the name of this Bewa Palace in Upper East. Pusiga. Yeah. Thank you. Pusiga itself. So up to now, when you go, the palace is still there. The people, and you see, and one thing people don't even realize, the Kusasis, the Frafres, the Dogo, they are all part of the kingdom. But mostly when we talk of the kingdom, it's like we narrow it to Dogombes, Mamprisi, Nanumbes. But Frafres, Kusasis, and the rest, they were all part of the kingdom. And the kingdom, somewhere along the line, disintegrated So it was a very great kingdom. And these are things that we can actually learn. And even maybe as I'm speaking, it is news to Ghanaians, some Ghanaians today, that they didn't even know that the Frefres, the Kusasis, were all part of the Gbon kingdom, as it were. And of course, I have left the other ones because they are the most popular ones. Like you go to what they call a Bunu East, Kintampo, the waterfall. I mean, those ones are very popular in Ghana, and they are the few ones that, of course, we seem to have interest in, and the rest. So I believe these are areas that we can actually sit down as a nation, package them well, and they're also going to create a lot of employment for the youth in that area, and then, of course, even the older population, they also find something to do around within those areas, and it's going to boost the economy itself too, and also going to put the map of Ghana on on the world map. So it's left with us if we should actually eschew politics and parochial interests and then put the interests of the country before us, then I believe it is something that we can achieve.
Yeah. Well, so if you just join us, you're watching the newspaper review segment on your #1 station, Pan-African Television, with me, Kwame Owusu Danso. Let me now bring into the conversation Honorable A.B. Fuseni. Sir.
Kwame, let me say a good morning to your good self, my long-lost returnee brother, Sabo, to welcome him back, and my comrade, Desmond. I don't consider Desmond just as a stand-in person. He's a man on his own.
Yeah.
You don't need, when you can tell a ripe corn by its look. I want to also take this opportunity to say good morning to your crew here, who worked very hard to bring Pan-Africa TV to the world. And of course, the Brechina people of the Sanaro constituency, who I have always said owe an irreparable debt of gratitude, and who I believe I can rely on any day, any time. Even in the deepest of slumber, I know that the Brechina people of Sanaro constituency are people worthy of that respect and commendation you can rely on any day. Kwame, this topic, you see that the Gombe say a lie is like a pregnancy. The older it grows, the more exposed it becomes. Kwame, if you are 1 week pregnant, maybe nobody will know. Maybe 1 month pregnant, nobody will know. Maybe 3 months. Even some women can even hide pregnancy, even up to 5 months. But hide it when it is 9 months. It will be clear. Kwame, and I have always said that, you see, the new patriotic party, and especially the government of Nana Akufo-Addo, Kwame, they have been bereft of achievements. And so, they find every least opportunity that presents itself to manufacture and peddle false figures. Kwame. So I've said that to accuse this government of peddling falsehood is like accusing a dog of barking. And Kwame, I can give you a litany of them, ranging from His Excellency the President presentation sometime in Parliament with figures, which eventually turn out not to be correct. From figures on debt to GDP to figures they have paid contractors, amounts they have paid. All of them, they are as soon as the presentation finishes, then the flaws start coming and people start exposing the falsehood behind the figures. So Kwame, this one when we had it 1.9, we even demanded, even in Parliament, that it didn't reflect in the preceding budget of 2020. Kwame, when such achievements are not in the next preceding budget, the figures will reflect in the budget. Okay? No such reflections came in the budget. And one was left wondering on what basis they even arrived at this figure of 1.9 billion. Kwame, take note that 1.9 billion is a lot of money. Kwame, we went to the IMF to go and kneel down and lie prostrate. You see, when Nigerians are going to salute Oga, you know, they lie flat like this. That is how we went to lie flat under the IMF after 2 weeks of COVID-19. After 2 weeks of COVID-19, we went to lie prostrate before the IMF were condemned and said we were in a hurry to run away from. We went back to lie prostrate before them for 1 billion. Kwame, 1 billion, that's 1 billion. This is 1.9, almost double. Have you seen the deception and the magnitude? Okay? And so if you could make 1.9 billion from this, how come that this colossal amount did not reflect in our economy? Kwame, when you generate this level of resources, it will have a positive bearing on your economy. That amount will reflect positively in your economy. In our hospitality industry, we would have seen the benefits. It reflects so much. And Comrade Desmond mentioned some of it. Kwame, you go to key tourist or tourist projects and you see that the infrastructure leading to that place is decrepit. For instance, the road leading to some of those other areas is nothing to write home about. You get to that place, there's no water, no proper reliable electricity. So the infrastructure that should engender and serve as a magnet to attract tourists, Kwame, it's not there. You understand? So in relating specifically to this homecoming, and I'm among those who have been champions in getting that link between the diaspora and us re-established and reinvigorated and strengthened, so that not only will our brothers and sisters retrace their roots, but that it will enhance the bonds of brotherhood between us and our brothers who were sent into the diaspora. Because Kwame, I am in favor of Europe and America paying reparations for both colonialism and the slave trade. Kwame, I am a serious advocate of reparations. Why? The Germans are still paying Israel billions of dollars for what happened in the Second World War under the Nazis. Okay? For that small period, Africans were dealt with for 400 years. Kwame, 400 years of plunder and decapitation of Africa. Part of Africa's woes, Kwame, today is because of the slave trade, where our most productive resource, that is the people, were carried away, most able-bodied to go and do slave labor. And Kwame, do you know, for instance, that Barclays Bank was established from the proceeds of slave trade by Alexander and David Barclay? So you can see how Africans were made profit of, on the basis of which started capital accumulation for Europe and America. And today they are able to make those kinds of things. So I am in favor, and that's why I detest us doing propaganda. Kwame, a man who is bereft of achievements transforms his yam mounds into a mountain. When he says his yam mount, he wants others to see that it's very big. Or you say, look at my mountain over there. And it's a yam mount. That is how the MPP is. They transform issues that are not of that magnitude when it's seen to be a benefit to them, and they over-magnify it. Okay. So I think that we should rather leave this and see how we can develop our tourist infrastructure. And ensure, and Kwame, go and look at the budget. What is allocated to the Ministry of Tourism? I'm sure Sabo knows. When you look at the allocation for the distance, it's a sorry sight. And that's why I'm saying that we should rather concentrate and see how more resources can flow into that sector. And also ensure that as part of the National Development Plan, we give attention to some of those tourist areas in terms of infrastructure development. We should up their infrastructure so that, and then, Kwame, last but not the least, also ensure that we encourage domestic tourism. You see, tourism is not just that only some white man or white woman should come to a place for it to be tourism. In fact, us sitting here, if Desmond and Sabo decide that they'll go and spend their weekend at Larbanga or they will go to the Damango game and go and spend about 3-4 days there. It will boost the tourism industry there. The local economy there will profit from the money Sabo and Desmond are going to spend in that.
Not made it attractive enough, and I think that's what Desmond largely spoke about.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about, even the decrepit infrastructure to up them and make sure.
Yeah.
For instance, I can give you a contribution to, if you go to Damango now, it has picked up. Part of it was Kwame. If we were going to go from the main road leading to Tamale to Damango, it will take you about 3 hours previously. The road was horrible. There were times even when you come, the bus is stuck in the middle of the road. In the rainy season, don't go. You get buses stuck, and people will have to go and bring tractors and others to be able to pull buses out of the place. By courtesy of His Excellency President Mahama, that road now, if you start from Tamale, in 30 minutes, you'll be in Damango.
I see.
Yes, it's a first-class asphalt road. You see? Now, so this is the kind of infrastructure that I'm saying that we should begin to push in those areas so that it will attract not just white people from abroad or our brothers and sisters, but also even our own domestic tourism.
But have we done enough?
No, that's what I'm saying, that we have not.
Across the board.
All of us as a government and others, I believe that we must inject more resources.
Yeah, because there's a lot of money in tourism.
We must all inject resources. Look at beaches.
Exactly.
You go to these developed countries. Monies that they earn from beaches.
Oh yes.
What do we use our? It's early morning yet. I know. What do we use our beaches for? Insurance.
We attend to nature's call there.
Yes, we do so many things. You know, where we can use it and make a lot of money. You know, no. So, changing our mindset. The mindset. You know, Kwame, the most powerful thing God gave to human being is the mind. And that is why I'm saying that we Africans, especially Ghanaians, because I even hear sometimes some people compose songs, hey, mi broni, and it says the broni is the God. So he transforms this into a God, and the broni is God, and the African is devil.
So there's a mental enslavement.
So the African has to look up to the God to be able to do it. If you have that kind of mindset, you can't develop.
Okay.
So, including the liberation of our mind and all those other things, it will help us
emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Those are the words of the legendary Bob Marley, and I think that it has been amplified by Honorable E.B. Fuseni on the show. Well, so we're done with the issue of tourism. And I think that we need a full day to have a lecture on tourism and how much we can really realize from that particular sector. Let's come back now and discuss another rather very disturbing issue. Issues of floods, which has become perennial. And it's unfortunate that in 2020, we're still experiencing these. I don't know how we will ever be able to deal with this particular issue. Honorable Ibif said, I'm starting with you. But I'm reading on the causes. And I know we all know, you know, it's a known fact. But just for the purposes of further education, that this is an article written by Daily Graphic. And they just simply titled it, Causes and Effects of Perennial Flooding in Urban Centers in Ghana. Initially, in Tamale, I really never saw floods in Tamale. Never. But then until recently, I said, hey, Tamale too. You know, and in all the other places. Now, when it rains, you can't even ply the Kasua road. It's absolutely terrible. And I'm reading from this article, and it's highlighting the causes and the effects of flooding. And it says one of the main causes is our building layouts and poor drainage systems. Also talks about silting and choking of drains. Then talks about poor architecture. Then talks about low level and flat land, but that really is explicable. But most importantly, it speaks about improper enforcement of laws on building, construction, and sanitation. And for me, really, that should be the meat of the conversation. Honorable Ibif, I've given you the if you will, the distributaries for the conversation. So let me kickstart the conversation with you, please.
Kwame, I don't intend to spend my time on this.
Okay.
Because I think the issues are not only just troubling, they are nauseating. Because this is a matter over the years. And it cuts across regimes, cuts across this thing. And it is something, Kwame, it's akin to flogging a dead horse. No matter even how sharp that whip is, it will not resurrect the dead horse. Year in, year out. Kwame, we talk about floods. Red rains come, floods. We outline the causes of the flooding, put in, say, measures we imagine we will take to deal with the matter. And as soon as the rains. So, Kwame.
I like how you say, imagine.
Yeah, we imagine. Because we just said that, oh, look, we can do this, make sure that we do this, and then craft some beautiful picture and walk away. It's imagination.
Figment of our own imagination.
So, Kwame, it's akin to this thing that it's like a vulture who says it will build its nest when it is being soaked by rain. As soon as the rain goes, it ends.
But there's also a political twist to this. You recall that when the NDC assumed the reins of, the MPP assumed the reins of power, there was that conversation about making Accra the cleanest city. And we know that one of the reasons for flooding is sanitation. You know, people just dump refuse anywhere they want and without attending consequences and things like that. You know, and the law enforcement, citing of houses. You know, in my area.
Kwame.
Yes, sir. Okay, I won't believe it. I won't believe it.
When President Nana Akufo-Addo made that, did you believe it? I'm saying the president himself.
No, I believe. I believe.
I'm telling you that he himself didn't believe what he said.
I believed it. Honestly, I did.
It's just political talk.
I believed it.
Kwame.
I believed it.
I am telling you that it was just political talk. I believe he himself didn't believe it.
You believe he himself
didn't believe it. Kwame.
Yes, sir.
Why? Do you remember that even under His Excellency President Kufuor, we had modernization of the capital as a ministry? Do you remember?
I remember, Pa.
When you have a ministry devoted to the modernization of the capital, what happened?
Yamutu.
A ministry, that one, you don't have any work. Just concentrate and develop the capital. Finish.
But there's one thing developing a policy. There's one thing implementing the policy.
Exactly. So, Kwame, I'm even saying that in the first case, show me a national sanitation plan government has to develop. Not just to make Accra the cleanest city, the country national sanitation policy, where we have this architecture that we are all talking about here. It's not there. You see, and Kwame, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So your failure is inexorable. Don't let it will come. So that is the genesis of our problem. Because as a nation, planning is critical. Especially when you are talking about layout of places and it's planning. Backed by the requisite level of enforcement. Why? Sabo is closer to the AMA boss and others. Ask him. AMA, they go and put red paint.
Produce permit.
Produce permit.
I saw a lot of my way here.
Produce permit and other.
On the Gulf Hills. The Gulf Hills here.
I saw one, I think it's now about 20 years, produce permit.
Oh, some of them, yeah.
They're still asking the person to produce permit after about 20 years.
Oh, somebody go see somebody. Yeah.
So you have reduced the whole essence of the phone to a joke. And you can even see a conspicuous structure sitting on a prominent waterway. Kwame. And it has been there for years.
You mean Hotel de Wawa?
I'm not giving you any specific examples, but you can see.
But you've mentioned this.
Yes, you can see. I'm saying that waterways all over, in many areas across the country.
Is it also?
You can see somebody even building with impunity. The city authorities will come and look at it, and you don't know what happens. They go away. They may just put the red paint there and go, and before you realize, there's a full structure where people are habiting.
So we concern ourselves with expansion, but we don't concern ourselves with...
You see, because elsewhere, where things work rationally, Kwame, there is a very well thought out, laid out structured way of development. You see, infrastructure and others, they go, water, electricity, those things, they go before even people, roads. But we go before the infrastructure comes. So you see that people go and start building in flood-prone areas where there are no gutters even. So, Kwame, when the water comes, where would the water pass?
In their homes.
So that when the water comes again, you have to call on the government and others to come to your aid. When improper and places of the... And one of our problems again, Kwame, is indiscipline. Lack of proper discipline. You know, sometimes that's why they say the French countries, they were crude in handling people. You know, but there's discipline. Because go to Togo, when they say you can't do this, nobody maps and you dare not. Just neighboring Togo here. You have been touting Rwanda, as a success. Since the arrival of Paul Kagame, the discipline that is brought to bear on Rwandans.
I think Ghanaians, most of us were indisciplined.
You see, the discipline is said that, Kwame, when they say you can't do this here, Rwanda, you go and cheat somebody, throw paper away like that.
No. How?
Who born dog? Yes. This place there, you will eat the kaklo, inform the say and throw the thing, bang. In fact, if it hits the ground, you even hear the sound. When it is raining, people bring tons of rubbish to come and pour it on in the gutters. Just because maybe the 20% or 50% or 1 CD or something you pay to dispose of it, it's too much. Of course, I know economic hardship is a decent, although that should not be an excuse. But it's a conundrum if you look at it. From our personal attitudes to government inaction, to state, to authorities in urban authority, MMDAs, reneging on their responsibilities, all those other things.
Thank you.
Are part of the problem. So, Kwame, that's why I'm saying that this one.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have diagnosed all the, we have made diagnosis of the problem. Yes,
implementation is
requisite level of political will to sometimes go through this. It's not there.
Sabo, let me come to you before I go to Desmond.
I think Honorable ABF has said a lot about this flooding issue, except that when he tried to
formalize the issue.
Yes.
I didn't.
Empty the promise that the president gave.
Oh, you mean
about making Accra the cleanest city. There has been several attempts by governments to try to deal with this flooding situation. One bitter one that I can remember is the Alajo case, which is now history. And then the PNDC stroke NDC were in power uninterrupted for 19 good years. 19 uninterrupted years of rule. They could not do anything about Alajo. People living around Alajo during rainy season either had to learn how to swim or get boats in front of their houses when the cloud gathers. It was always a nightmare for residents in Alajo when it gets to rainy season. But let's thank the God and then, of course, the government of His Excellency President Ejiokum Kufuor. Today, it is history. Even the younger generation today don't even know that something like that used to happen in Alajo. What happened yesterday? I have my eyes. Before let me just correct this thing. Of course, the produce permit that my elder brother was talking about, it is true that sometimes you see on some buildings, it's about 3, 4, 5 years. But nonetheless, what you need to know is that after the person has gone to actually do the necessary listen, he doesn't normally take the pain to clean the listen. He leaves it like that. Like to pay, like to go and then do the proper things.
It's in a flood plain. And then he has gone to do something to regularize it.
You didn't put, you were only talking of the produce permit.
Yes.
I'm not talking of course, for the flood one there, it's supposed to be demolished.
Yes.
But what I mean is that, what I mean is that there are several produce permits that you normally see, but the people already rectified it. It is not left with the owner to clean it, but he has also left it. But that does not mean that it is so illegal or the person has not done the right thing. But of course, when it comes, I'm yet to even come to that place. You know, for me, I'm an advocate of this kind of thing. I wish some areas like that, I'm just made the MC or the DCE for just 1 month. especially during the rainy season, and then they will see how things will go. You see, Kwame. So these are the issues. First, yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? The day before yesterday, the rain.
2 days ago.
2 days ago, yes. The whole of Greater Accra, where it was much felt, is Anyaso Tuom. Anyaso Tuom is gradually becoming a flood-prone area.
That's very true.
Exactly. And it is because of the undulated nature of the municipality. The whole of Anyaso Tuom, you can hardly find a flat land. So normally those who are the valleys of these...
These are building activities.
Yeah, no. Besides the building...
When they fell the trees, you know, the debris, when it's coming from the hills and there are trees, sometimes it holds
The water.
the water. You know, I did small geography, so that one I remember.
No. Yes, no. Not even geographic. Even when you come to agriculture,
Okay.
in order to reduce the impact of what do you call it?
Soil erosion.
Erosion. I almost said inflation.
Soil inflation.
Soil erosion.
Yeah.
There's something that is being referred to as terracing.
Yeah.
Terracing.
So you dig
that
the
you do like a
trenches, a
staircase,
step, yeah.
so that it reduces the rate.
It's in geography too.
Exactly. Oh, no, I did both geography and agri.
Yeah.
Although I majored in agriculture.
Geography, yeah, it's very good.
I will level this thing. Very good. So it's like you said, such areas too. Maybe the city authority will take it upon themselves because the individuals may not be able to have the capacity to do that, so that they terrace some of these areas to reduce the rate at which the water will come. Because it is like if you did geography, if you go to the live descent of a span of river, they will tell you that at the youthful stage, the river is very strong because it is coming from the hill. So it is coming with some sort of speed. So even when there are rocks on its way, to carry the rocks along. By getting to the middle age, they begin to drop the heavier ones, then continue with the lighter ones until it gets to the old age distance. So with this kind of I think the town and country plan, always I have narrowed any time there are these issues. I don't normally even talk about the local authorities. My distance on town and country planning. Kwame, you agree with me today, as we speak, lands are being sold without any proper supervision. But these supposed authorities, it's the chief and the one who wants to buy the land. And the one who wants to buy the land doesn't know anything. Sometimes even they don't even come at the receiving end. He doesn't even know that this place is prone to flooding or is liable to flooding and the rest. And that time too, around that time too, human beings are sensitive that when we are in need of something, sometimes we don't even have the patience to try to further check. We just want to get it and go. And then the chief also, we cannot fault him. It is his land. That is what he's also, it is almost like his office. He's also using. So it is left with you, the laws enforcing this thing, to actually liaise with these chiefs and then let them know that this area, you can only sell this area for somebody who wants to use it for this kind of project. But you cannot sell it for building. Maybe it can be sold for car wash if you want to do a car wash base. Yes, it is allowed. But it cannot be sold for something that they put structure on it and the rest. Quite apart from that, you see, that kind of we feeling, we don't have it. There's nothing like we feeling with us today. As we were growing up, that kind of thing was still there. This kind of dumping of, although even those days, only a small portion of the population was educated. But I think there was much education among the population than today. To be frank with you, as to what is right and what is wrong. I quite remember that those days when Hilary Man brought Tata buses around 81 and the rest, and students were allowed to go on board free and other things and the rest. When you enter the bus and an elderly man enters, you get up and he will sit down. Today, just tell me how many boys or girls will do this in Trotro? Nobody. Those days you will be walking and an elderly person will call you. You are going this direction and he will send you this direction. You cannot say that you will not go, or you are, unless of course you are being sent by your parents. You have to go and the rest. All these things are falling. Even today, the teacher who used to actually put this thing or impact this thing on the child himself is not being respected in the classroom. If you don't take time and even try to instill discipline on them, you will get somebody who also try to connive with the children, and then they will tell a lie on you, the teacher, and that ends you. I'm telling you, most of these kind of rape issues that we normally hear about teachers and the rest, most of them are not true. Most of them, they are, though some of them are true, but most of them are just a listen because the teacher is different from the other teachers. So I believe as a country or as a nation, there's a need for all of us to come together to sit down and look at this particular issue and know how we are going to deal with it. Kwame, quite apart from that, like they were saying, drains. You see, I didn't know much about drains until I decided to go into construction. Then I got to realize that there are diameters of drains, every particular area and the type of drain, that the depth and the width of the drain that is supposed to be. Sometimes, most often than not, just because somebody will knock a few and the rest, the person want to chop. So when he does the right thing, he will not get anything. So he will reduce the size so he can also get something in his pocket or on his table. And then, in the long run, future generation suffers the consequence. And part of this blame. And the dumping of this thing that he spoke about, most often than not, even this morning, if you check in my car, it has started gathering. Me, when you enter my car around afternoon going to evening time, you may, if you don't take care, you may not respect me. Because all the things that I bought on the way and the rest, I leave them inside the car till I get to the house before I put everything in the dustbin. But you may see, especially what even annoys me, sometimes in a commercial car, the mate when you are putting the thing this in the way a man will look at you, or sometimes as if why are you making his car dirty and the rest. So where do you expect me to dump those things when the car is in motion and I'm a passenger? So I believe that it all boils down, like I said, the political will and the education. There is one major thing that we fail to invest in as a country: attitudinal change. And attitudinal change is the only cure for all the things that we are talking about. If the attitude of the people changes, then everything will also change on its own.
All right.
So I strongly believe that it is high time we also look at these things, even it will be in the communal spirit, or it will be like the central government taking it upon itself, or the municipal assemblies are tasked to deal with these particular things, so that opinion leaders within our communities are normally brought together and then be impacted with this kind of knowledge, so that they also go into the community to disseminate it and then turn around to make them the enforcers of that particular distance.
Thank you.
Because I strongly believe that, Kwame, if I give you the responsibility and empower you, that if you find anybody putting anything in this gutter in front of your house, and even the person is bigger than you can't do anything, just call us. We'll respond to the call.
All right.
I believe people knowing that you have that power.
All right.
Nobody will do it.
Thank you. All right. There's still a big elephant in the room that we'll be discussing, which has to do with the Supreme Court ruling on NDC and EC matter on June 23rd. But we'll be guided, because the matter is still in court and yet to be determined on. We'll be guided in order to not prejudice the outcome of that particular decision. But let's hear from you, Desmond, on the substantive matter that we're discussing.
Kwame, do we still have Ministry of Sanitation?
Yes, we do.
In fact, it's not a full ministry.
We have Ministry of Sanitation.
It used to be
and we have a minister who is being paid. And what is the work of AMA and NADMO? What's the work? What work are they supposed to be doing in the cities? You go to Tema, you have Tema Metropolitan Assembly, right? You come to Accra, you have AMA. You go to Kumasi, we have them. And in all these areas, we have NADMO staffs, we have NADMO workers as well. Am I lying? Now, you see...
I wanted to make, if I mentioned AMA, I just wanted to just make some another decision. AMA, I want the viewers, especially those within Accra, to take note of this. AMA is not more like the way it used to be. So sometimes there are certain areas they put the blame on AMA, but it's not AMA. AMA is only now with Okaikwe South, Ododo Dio, and then No, Ablekuma South.
Okay.
That is all. That's the end of AMA. So all other jurisdictions, including SEC, some part of SEC.
Okay, so there's some
municipalities. No, let's submit to.
They are now entities on
Entities
the
on their own. But the functions are
Yes, but you refer to it as AMA. Also, people also look at AMA.
Okay.
They are municipal assemblies now.
I'm sure he was referring to the functions.
The functions.
What
At the end of the day,
no, it's not to you that I'm only.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they are supposed to make sure that people don't put up buildings or don't put up kiosks at places where they ought not to be. And so what are they doing as an assembly, as a municipal? What really work are they doing? You see, sometimes you ask yourself that why should these modern times we have a whole place like Circle being flooded? Meanwhile, we can boast of a Circle Dubai with gutters. And at the end of the day, we even have these big gutter, and still we have flood. It's because of our mindset. People think that paying 20 pesos or 50 pesos to dump their refuse in the bin that maybe Zoom Lion or whoever is responsible have provided for them, they will prefer putting it in the gutter close to them. Forgetting that the more you put the rubbish in the gutter, when it rains, it will get blocked at a point, and then the water will just come back to you. Because when it doesn't have any place to go, it will still be at one place and it will keep on piling, and then at the end of the day, you realize it's already in your room. And so if we don't change our mindset, the attitude we have towards certain things, we are going to always have floods in most parts of our country. Then also, government interference in these institutions. We should allow the institutions to work. You have an institution where it's supposed to work effectively, but the interference of the government of the day will not allow it to work. A typical example is these, what do we call it, municipal assemblies and what have you. If the government allows those institutions to work, I bet you they can work effectively. Why is it that when you go to our various villages, our hometowns, we don't normally get flood, but we get them in the cities where we normally say or tell me that no man's land, or we are all in like a community where we call people from different walks of areas come together, stay, and then there's no control over anybody, and then always we'll be having flooding. It's because we don't change our mindset. So if we change our mindset, it is going to help us. Kwame, then there's this issue of people who are responsible or who are put in charge to construct our roads, our gutters, our bridges, and what have you. What qualifies them to be able to supervise over those projects? You have a road which has been constructed. At the end of the day, it's just 2.5 lanes. We have some in Ghana. And at the end of the day, we will not even have people asking why that particular road is 2.5. Because at the end of the day, we don't hold people accountable when they do things. It is about time we hold people accountable if the right thing is not being done. Because at the end of the day, if we continue behaving this way, I can tell you for a fact that we are not going to go anywhere. We don't have any developmental plan, like Honorable was saying. We don't have any developmental plan. Government comes and then they come with their own plans, forgetting that there used to be an agenda where at the end of every month or beginning of every month, we do cleanup exercise. Where is that cleanup exercise now? Do you remember? At the end of or beginning of every month, there used to be a cleanup exercise where all shops, stores, and people will not even go out. They try to clean where they live, their gutters, their streets. Now it is not happening. It is not happening. And people will throw the rubbish in the gutters, and still they will tell the government to bring excavator to come and remove those rubbish. It doesn't make sense. It is not going to help us as a country. You see, when we want to build this country, we have to build it up on our attitudinal change. We have to change our mindset. If we are able to do that, we can move forward as a country. Because for me, engineers are not treating us well. They are not trying to give us the right dimensions for various projects that is being done. And at the end of the day, it caused some of these flooding. So sitting here, lamenting that my brother Sabo or myself, we are responsible for not making sure that things doesn't work is neither here nor there. Because at the end of the day, people have been given the mandate to make sure that things work. But because of interference from other corners, they don't do their job well. You see, so flood, yes, it will come. But how prepared are we going to, how prepared are we when the flood comes? It is up to us to change our mindset. When we change our mindset, we can move on as a country.
Well, so that was Desmond. Thank you very much, Desmond. We're still here seated. And now I will be going to, I think I'll be staying with Desmond still on the next topic that we are going to be having our conversation on, and which has to do with the Supreme Court's, the matter between the NDC and the versus Electoral Commission of Ghana. And I'm sure that you have a background to the story already, so I'm not going to bore you with all the nuances of the story and, things that have happened relative to the story and things like that. But yesterday, though, something very instructive happened in court, where the attorney for the NDC was asked to choose which of the reliefs that they needed a determination to be made on. And I think that the court, in its wisdom, drew the attention of the counsel for the NDC to the fact that they were seeking two separate reliefs which were running parallel to each other. So they were not issues that were issues that could be derived from, so they were separate issues essentially, that a relief seeking to find out whether or not the EC could compile a new voters register. That was one relief being sought. Now the other relief that was also being sought was whether or not the EC could prevent people from using the voters ID card for the voter registration exercise. So the question that was left to be answered was whether they are asking the EC not to go ahead with the compilation of the new voters register, or they want the EC to go ahead with the compilation of the new voters register, but with the involvement or the inclusion of the voters ID card. So that was the confusion that needed to be cleared, because they couldn't have been given the two reliefs. Because if for instance you get a second relief which says that okay, you can use the voters ID card for registration, then it means that it does not, I mean, it's just separate. I mean, you can't achieve both. I don't know if you are following me. So that was why the court decided for the counsel of the NDC to pick one. And I think that in the wisdom of the court, that was the best thing to do. And the NDC indeed did pick one. Now, the one that they picked was to prevent the EC from disallowing people from using the voters ID card for registration, for the purpose of registration. Now, if you read what ensued in court, the Attorney General also made some points, very strong points, to the effect that technically and practically, the NDC had not been able to meet the more like a technical knockout sort of, because they had not followed the process and things like that. And even at the time when they sent the matter to court, there was no constitutional instrument for a determination to be made on. And that was what Godfrey Dame said, that at the time when the matter was sent to court, Parliament was still, the CI 129 was still laid before Parliament for a determination, for Parliament to also pass it. And so, on what basis, which constitutional breach did they bring to court for a determination? But the court was also very quick to react to that and said that, well, we cannot say that we're not proceeding with the matter because of the technicalities, because whether we like it or not, the NDC can still come back because now the CR has matured. And so they needed to make a determination on the matter now before later. So they have set June 23rd for a final determination to be made. But like I said, we have to be very circumspect in order not to prejudice the outcome of the decision of the court. But it's also very important to understand the provisions of the Constitution and whether or not indeed the exclusion of the voter's ID card is a matter that cannot be looked at from even a moral or and a constitutional perspective. Honorable Ebi Hussein, let me start with you on this one. I know that you've been also following the issue for some time now, and so you can best also appreciate the NDC's position in this matter, the EC's position in this matter, and what the Ghanaian people want. Essentially, I mean, I want to vote. My difficulty really has to also do with the fact that in trying to explain the position of the EC, I think people have been very confused, marrying Article 42 and the functions of the EC together. So that we need to ensure that there's a separation of the right to vote and then the functions of the Electoral Commission as stated clearly under Article 45 of the Constitution. So please, if we can hear from you. But also, I mean, you invoked the original jurisdiction of the court using Article 42, Article 2 of the Constitution, 2 out of the Constitution. But, and also, Honorable, if you can also look at Article 6, which talks about citizenship, who a citizen is, and whether or not is the EC that can confer citizenship rights on anybody in this country. Honorable, I've spoken plenty, but I know you can box it all together.
Yeah. Let me first and foremost.
I don't know if it's a better introduction to the topic.
Yes, it's good.
Thank you.
It's good, especially the caution that it's a matter that is pending before the Supreme Court, and all of us have to be restrained in our comment, so that it does not seem to suggest that one would be prejudicial in your statements. And I think we have all seen what has happened before. Kwame, I'm minded by this, especially where the judiciary itself is minded to dispense justice without fear or favor. And Kwame, let me just say this very briefly. That is why I find worrying under this government that things have happened where people have engaged in egregious, Kwame, violation of the law, and they have walked away. This one, I'm sure you can remember. That, Kwame, in a competent court of jurisdiction in this country, people ever went to court and made a judge flee and run away and leave his sandals behind. Kwame, here, in this country, under this government, Kwame, as we speak today, are you aware of what sanctions? I mean, it is one of the most sacrilegious things anybody can do. To even have the impudence, Kwame, if I sit in a court and I even look at the judge in a manner, the judge can determine that even my look is contemptuous. Am I lying?
Yeah.
Let alone even to say, and worst of all, even to act in a manner that will be prejudicial to the court. You will go to jail. Yeah. All those people, Delta forces, and who went and ran amok and chased the judge from his. Kwame, these were jail sentences that should have been given. What has happened today as we sit here? I'm just premising my decision on the need to respect our courts and the sanctity of their premises. These things have happened and nothing has happened. So, Kwame, that sometimes selectivity in applying the law is what makes people really, really agitated. And I think that is very, very important that we get that. Kwame, let me say ab initio that the NDC position, and this is not just the NDC position, it's an inter-party position. It's not the NDC alone that is in this issue of protecting the right of Ghanaians to vote, the inalienable right of Ghanaians to register. And Kwame, I will touch on this Article 42 briefly.
Please.
So it is not, let me state that ab initio. First and foremost, that is not the NDC alone. Even though a member of the NDC must have taken the detainee, or the NDC as a political party would have been at the lead in taking the matter to the apex court for determination. But it is a matter that is beyond the NDC, into the interparty, and even beyond the interparty to the gamut of all Ghanaians who run the high risk of being disenfranchised. And Kwame, let me make it clear that the decision of the NDC to do so was to protect the inalienable fundamental rights and freedoms of Ghanaians. As you have indicated, Article 42 makes it abundantly clear. Kwame, I'm going to read the text. It says, every Ghanaian. It uses the word every. And so, Kwame, when it uses every Ghanaian, there's no room for anybody to be left out. So every Ghanaian who qualifies, and the qualification criteria is set up by the Constitution, which says that it gives two other conditions. Apart from being a Ghanaian, it says that you must be 18 years and above. And then as the second qualification of sound mind. So if I'm in a queue and I'm 18 years above, I have every right to vote. Unless you come and tell me that you can prove that I'm a madman. If I can prove that I'm insane. And maybe that will take some medical expertise for anybody to be. That's why they say of sound mind.
No, you are now into insanity.
Fine. I mean, insanity has different levels. Insanity is not the one who holds only cutlass. It's on people's.
Yeah, please.
So, and that, Kwame, and that is an area where I think the Electoral Commission got itself confused about exercising its functions and then determining Ghanaian citizenship. Because, Kwame, the right to vote is about your Ghanaian citizenship. It's not about a function of the Electoral Commission. The right to vote as enshrined in the Constitution is a Ghanaian citizenship matter, which is determined. And Kwame, I will read the lead judgment in the Abu Damadan case that was given by the then Chief Justice, Madam Georgina Wood, on this matter. It's an issue of Ghanaian citizenship. Kwame, with your permission, I think I should read it. I'm quoting, to paraphrase. To pass the constitutional validity test, any document listed under Regulation 1, Sub-Regulation 3, I'm quoting Madam Georgina Wood in her delivery of her judgment before the Supreme Court on the Abu Ramadan case. Sub-Regulation, let me take it again. To pass the constitutional validity test, any document listed under Paragraph 1, Sub-Regulation 3, must contain the constitutional requirement that qualify an applicant for registration as a voter. The critical requirements, which are clearly stated on the old voter registration card, includes the age and citizenship status of the applicant. It may indeed be legitimately argued that for all practical purposes, the old voter ID card is the best prima facie evidence of an applicant's eligibility under CI 72. Unquote. This is, I'm just quoting Georgina Wood. I'm not making any argument into any matter.
Okay.
So, Kwame, these are issues of citizenship. So I think that it is very, very important that we disaggregate issues of the determination and the rights of citizenship from the functions of the Electoral Commission. And in this matter, it is so clear to me. Kwame, the issue that I ask myself clearly is that, does the MPP and the EC concede that under the current arrangement of the voters, the passport and the
NIA card?
Kwame, and that brings me to that issue. Is it an NIA card? Is it a Ghana card? ECOWAS card?
No,
or
I'm
NIA
confused.
card?
I don't know what it is. So. Is it what? Is it an ECO? I'm told it's an ECOWAS card.
It's a Ghana card.
Where is it? Ghana card.
And don't forget, Ghana is a member of the sub-region.
So is it the sub-region? Because on the card is embossed the ECOWAS. It's
No,
clear.
I'm saying no. It's a national card. It's a national ID card. there are non-citizens who can also acquire the card, and it is also clearly stated that they are not.
I'm happy you are making this statement. Yes. Savo confirms that there are non-citizens who can acquire this card.
But he said that it's also it
see?
shows.
Wait a minute. Okay. That's a very important point.
Okay. You see how he's quoting it?
No,
because I am saying this because it was a separation.
Thank you very much.
But let him make his argument.
No, but he's
because of time.
No.
So that we don't. He's not.
So Kwame, I'm right to make this point. If a Burkinabe or a Malian or a Nigerian can acquire this card, and the card is the basis, one of the source documents for registration. Kwame, will I be wrong if I say that Burkinabes, Malians, and Nigerians can go onto our voters register? Right? Right? Because all that they demand when you come for the decision is your possession of the card as proof in this particular case of your Ghanaian citizenship. So if Nigerians, Burkinabes, and others can also acquire the card, then there is a potential that they can also get onto our voters register. Is that the case? As Sabo is saying. Yeah. Is that the case?
Balance of probability.
No. Then let me clarify it. I told you that non-citizen can also acquire this card.
It's like shown on their card.
It's like when you go to a French-speaking country. They also give you a card as a foreigner. But to show you are, like, you have the permit to stay within the country around this time.
Honorable, let's because of time. I'm just left with some few minutes to
Kwame. So on the card, it doesn't indicate citizenship and non-citizenship.
Then
it doesn't. Show me. Does it indicate on the card citizen and non-citizen?
Yes.
Where is it?
Yes. When you on the top right corner,
yes.
The non-citizen, it is clearly written there. After citizen, they don't bring anything like non-citizen. But when you are non-citizen, it is clearly
you see
non-citizen.
So that is where the risk is.
I have not received my card yet, so I cannot talk about.
That's what I'm saying. So that is where the risk is. That if it's not even indicated and it's a Burkinabe or Malian, he can go and get himself featured on the voters register. Okay? So Kwame, that is the issue that even the determination of the status of the card is in controversy.
Oh, there's nothing like controversy.
Because if it's as an ECOWAS card, it means that ECOWAS citizens in the sub-region are entitled to it. And that it is not the preserve of Ghanaians. So on what basis do you describe it as a Ghana card? When it is something that obviously it is. And Kwame, the NDC and the inter-party resistance against the compilation of the register never said anywhere that there was one particular method through which they will wage their collective struggle to vindicate the rights of Ghanaians.
Hey. So it's not just the court?
Yes. But who says that it is only one method that you can use to vindicate your rights?
But what other method is there?
What
other legal method?
Go and read the Constitution of this Republic. Article 1. Where is sovereignty?
Besides in the people.
So you don't know that even the people of this country, as a unism, as a people, hold the first foremost rights to determine what happens in this country.
But there's no consensus on this matter.
So I am indicating to you, the people. So when Ghanaians as a people rise up and say they want this, they want it, no will can subvert the rights of the Ghanaian people. You know that. And I'm saying that something which is in the Constitution is not constitutional or is not legal. It's in the Constitution, Article 1. The framers of the Constitution, in their collective wisdom, thought it was something that should inure to the good people of this country, and they put it in there. And it didn't go as Article 145. It went as Article 1, the very, very first article of this Constitution. The sovereign will of the Ghanaian people. So Kwame, all other fora, symposia, programs, workshop, demonstration, agitations on the street are part of this remit. Okay? It is not one method. It is not. So don't get carried away by this statement to the effect that it is only one particular method that is a size fits all for all this matter. It is not. And those are, and I've said that the interparty and all Ghanaians who want to fight against the disenfranchisement, Kwame, they have every legitimate legal constitutional, political avenue to explore in this matter. So it should be legitimate, it should be legal, it should be constitutional, it should be political. So I have that. But Kwame, let's come back to a very serious matter. Another very serious matter. Kwame, as we speak now, the COVID-19, the number of cases is hitting 11,000. We are getting to 11,000 cases. Today is the 11th, eh?
Yep. 12.
12.
Yeah.
12, yeah.
Kwame, exactly 3 months today. Exactly 3 months today. That is March 12th. That the first 2 cases came. You remember the Norwegian who traveled with the president? When he came back, it was then that they declared that the Norwegian and some other persons had contracted this COVID-19 and tested positive. And they said he and a Turkish man or something. The 2 cases. Those were the 2 cases. And Kwame, I remember those of us in parliament said that because of what they have come up with and the WHO protocol indicate that anybody who is exposed to somebody who has tested positive must go on voluntary quarantine.
True.
We in the minority demanded that the president and all those people who were present should quarantine voluntarily. Kwame, it didn't happen. From then onwards, many other things happened in terms of the interaction, and from then the disease started spreading like wildfire. Today, as we speak, like I said, from 2 cases 3 months ago, we are now almost 11,000 cases. So mathematicians to do the percentage increase in tens of thousand percentages. Today, as we speak. And Kwame, today it has spread across every region of the country. Previously, it went to 6 regions. First, it was
2.
Accra,
Kumasi.
Kumasi. Yeah. It spread to 6 regions. It spread to 10 regions. It spread to 11, 13 regions, 14, 15, and 1 was left. Now the 1 is also included. There's no part of this country where this pandemic,
no day.
So, the clearest indication we are getting is that the disease is on the ascendancy. The pandemic is on the ascendancy. Kwame, at the time the thing is expanding, you are exposing millions of Ghanaians to a terrible specter of having to go and form queues and get infected. That is why I say this government has no respect for the sanctity and the life of Ghanaians. If they can go and queue and get disease and go and die and Nana Akufo-Addo gets elected, he wants it. They are not minded by the health conditions of our people. You remember, Kwame, when even a member on our side, on the minority side, Honorable Sam George, even sought an injunction to restrain the Electoral Commission from gathering people in large numbers in flagrant violation of a court order. And also even the president's own restrictions under EI 62. Kwame, it was flagrantly violated by the Electoral Commission, and they went ahead and did that. When the NIA was still registering people, and people were gathering in large numbers with the obvious threat to the spread of the pandemic, and an injunction was sought to restrain the NIA from carrying out the decision. No mean a person, the Attorney General was in court contesting that thing on the 18th of April.
Yeah.
The register will be ready less than 3 weeks before we go for election.
Yeah.
Kwame, go and calculate. 18th April, now we are at the end of June. So if they were even going to bring it 2 or 3 weeks before the election, this time when can the register come? When can the register come? And Kwame, a register must be in place before you even undertake issues like what do you call it? Filing of nominations.
Yeah.
When you are going to do file nominations around September, and that's why we've been asking the EC. Parliament has called the EC to come and even give us a program of the elections. Still, they have not come. You remember the same stiff-necked Jean Mensa, very arrogant posture. Even when the National House of Chiefs invited her to come and make a presentation, she's treated the House with contempt. Kwame, You strip a chief naked and then you come and pay respect to him in his palace. Who will take that? You strip me naked in public and come and clothe me in private. So the chief calls you to come and you disrespect the chief. And then when you are going to say, you go and pay a courtesy call. Because anybody who enters any area, there's no area in this country where there's no chief. A lie?
True.
From Brofi Yedru to
Panchinibra.
to Banyamle. They are chiefs.
To Petagbe.
To Pasimpe. Wale Pasimpe.
Yeah, Pasimpe.
Every area has a chief. So if you disrespect that honors institution, and you come and you want to start an exercise, can you go and pay obeisance to them and seek their cooperation? You see? So Kwame, these are all the issues, the gamut of issues that we are all talking about, which permeate this exercise. And so I think that the delineation by the court that the NDC should choose one of the issues. And I've heard people say that, oh, even the NDC has been defeated, the one who went to court has been defeated on the matter because the court said that of the two reliefs, they find it to be the same thing. So if they are the same thing, pick one. How does that constitute a defeat? So in the mind of the court, this is how it should go.
Not necessarily the same thing. There are different things. But
no, I'm saying that they said that the relief, one relief is an alternative to the other.
To the other, yes.
I think that in the wisdom of the court, that is what it says.
Yes.
One relief is so that's how they determine.
But you can't be saying that the EC doesn't have the locals to compile a new register and also be asking that voters.
Exactly. So that is the wisdom of the court. And who am I? Me, ignorant as I am in the law. I'm not even a lawyer. So when the court determines that that is how it is, that is so be it. Okay, so Kwame, let us all endeavor. Because for me, there are critical issues in this matter. And the line which is the sacred right, inalienable fundamental human right to vote.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying that was where there's this confusion about Article 4 and then Article 45. Article 42, which indicates the inalienable right of every single Ghanaian
to
vote. And Kwame, I told you of the story of even a chief in my my constituency, who indicated to me that, Honorable, I hear that you are they'll be asking us to bring passport and Ghana card. Is it Ghana card?
ECOWAS card.
Sabo's card.
Eco Ghana card.
Eco Ghana card. That I don't have any of them. So as a chief of the village, what happens to me? If I come as a chief and they ask me for my passport, I don't have. They ask me for my birth certificate, I don't have. They ask me to go home.
No, birth certificate is not.
Some two people will come from somewhere to come and guarantee for me the chief of this town. Before they can recognize that me as chief of this town, my Ghanaian citizenship is in doubt. Can you believe this thing? That's why I'm saying that it was putting on the level of insanity. It's quite something.
Thank
you know, and Kwame, even me sitting here, Kwame, I will not be a happy and proud person. Kwame, neither you. Sabo sitting here. If Sabo goes to register, assuming you don't have a Ghana card, I know that even if you don't have MPP, they'll make it for you. But those who are not MPP, they won't have that similar facility. Yeah. So if you did not have a Ghana card, somebody has to come and say, you Sabo. Two people have to come and guarantee and testify that you are a Ghanaian before you can go.
I would have to go and testify that Sabo is a Ghanaian.
Yes, maybe you come and call me and you because we know Sabo. We should go and testify that Sabo before.
Oh, no, thank you.
So
thank you.
So you see the matter.
Yes.
That is the difficult.
Thank you very much. Sabo, let's hear from you. And then that is.
You see, I'm coming. Just this last one.
Yeah.
I hear they are sharing the
money.
No.
Okay. They said 3 million cars.
Kwame, I've said that anybody who touches COVID-19, one person, may the Almighty not give him peace on this earth and in the hereafter. Those who are chopping the COVID-19 money. But Kwame, I hear they are sharing the NIA cards. And the manner, I have had some pictures being sent.
Send it to me.
Chaotic manner.
I'll send it to the news team.
The criteria the NIA adopted was that they were going to do verification.
Mm-hmm.
So when your card comes, Sabo, you come and put your fingers on those other things and you ensure that it is actually Sabo. Yeah. So that we'll give the card to Sabo. It doesn't go. I'm even hearing that Some people are even getting 2 cards.
Some are giving their what you call the duplicates of the or receipts of the card.
What receipt are you talking about?
Like when you register.
I have my receipt.
What? No,
There's a cheat. He has
I have
exactly.
it. I have it.
But you
So
don't
you need to produce the
I have
receipt.
not.
No.
Sure.
I listened to one person yesterday.
Let me come to Sabu so that.
Yeah, I was just trying to point out that it means that NIS first has not even announced to Ghanaians that they have abandoned the procedure they outlined that they were going to use for the distribution of the cards.
Yeah.
And the cards are now, if you are not careful, people who even registered genuinely and had their cards may not even get their cards.
It's true.
Some people can even go and parade and take the cards
For somebody
for
else.
some other people, and the people who registered with their cards are there may not get the cards.
It's true.
So if that goes on, and that could be part of the politics of denying people the right to even access the card and go on to register and cast their vote.
My problem
That is undermining.
There's one problem we are not getting here. You know that when you go to pick your card, they need to verify.
Yes.
Now, if you don't verify the card, when you go out there, the card is useless. So now, those cards that they are sharing now, how are you going to know that it has been verified? You just send somebody, go with my cheat, and just take my card. Now the card, your fingerprint and everything.
Let Sabu come in.
Okay, Sabu, let's hear from you.
It's a very serious point that you are making.
Kwame, you can see how my elder brother struggled.
He's struggling. I knew you were going to use that word.
In fact, he realized that he had no point. He had to run to COVID-19. That one too couldn't save him.
Sabu, I'm sure. Were you on your feet when I was talking? I'm sure you were not on your feet when I was talking.
Sabu, let's hear from you.
Kwame, let me just start from the COVID-19. He was actually mentioning of COVID-19, and then the figures keep on increasing and the rest. In fact, under the watch of the NDC, cholera that we've all known and were taught even in primary school, the symptoms and the kind of preventive this and that has killed more Ghanaians. 100 times than what COVID-19 has done to Ghanaians. So that one, you don't even have the locals to talk about this at all. This is a strain, this and that. Even the whole world, almighty America, is even suffering seriously under it. But common cholera, you couldn't manage it.
This is a good punchline.
You see, Kwame, just some few rebuttals before I also, if there's time, then I also go on to the distance. He was saying that the time is very small or very short for EC to be able to do all this exercise. The same people too are saying that EC has no locus to do this exercise, compile a new register. And the same people are also saying that, what do you call it?
COVID-19.
No, not the COVID-19, that EC cannot exclude the voters' old voters' ID card. In fact, when I came in black, I thought you would ask me why I'm wearing black. I'm still mourning the death of the case that was actually a point from the court yesterday, the twin brother of their case. You know, they went with twin case.
Which one is that one?
And
Go ahead, you go ahead.
you wait, my brother, that's small. Don't run faster than your legs can carry. You will end up losing your teeth.
No.
You keep quiet. You end up losing you may laugh at the wrong side of your mouth.
Good.
So I'm actually mourning this particular case because and he was saying, in fact, he's right. He's not a lawyer just like me, but they hired the services of a lawyer who knows much about law, and yet he could not detect that they were two contradictory things that they were taken to court. So you can imagine the kind of lawyer you are handling. May God save you. Kwame, the second issue that I want to also talk about is that the card that I was talking about, non-citizen, also having the opportunity to have the card. What we are trying to do is this. We need to have a comprehensive data of citizens and non-citizens residents in Ghana, so that at any material moment, when the government is going to plan for the country, he has the figures and will plan appropriately. As we speak today, we do things. Look, in fact, when somebody dies, and we are even going to bury the person, the kind of suffering things that you go through, before you even get to your dead body. When you get to the burial, listen to things that you do. The local authority, if it is under AMA, any assembly that is, what you do and the rest. But if there's a data like this, in fact, it's just a what do you call it? How do they even say it? A punch on a button, and all these institutions have the information. It is syndicated, synchronized, and all these institutions have the information, and things will work. Even passport office, when you are going to do your, before you even give them your information, mention your name. They have the information. They tell you go tomorrow, come for your passport. This is so. It is not just only Ghanaians who are supposed to have the card. Foreigners who are resident in Ghana have permit. They also have the card, and it will clearly indicate that they are non-citizens. So they are foreigners. That's what I'm saying. It's Ghana card. When you go,
it's Ghana card on it.
Listen, we'll get there.
Proceed.
Now, he was also talking about this particular call for EC not to register. It's a call by Ghanaians, and even link it to Article 1 of the National Constitution, of the Ghanaian Constitution. So when demonstrators, for them, they came from Togo, or they came from Benin, or they came from space. They were not Ghanaians. Were they also not calling for EC to do similar thing? What happened? You ended up popping out our eyes, whipping some of us, turning some of us into the same boat. We ran like never before. I'm telling you, what happened? We were not Ghanaians. So these things, you see...
All that you are saying, you are vindicating the right of Ghanaians to demonstrate.
No, I'm telling you. I'm just telling you. You see...
Someone for me.
You see my point for me. Kwame.
Time. Then proceed. Then proceed.
So these are some of the things. And last but not the least...
Thank you very much. You are an understanding man.
No, I'm not talking of your this. Yes, the chiefs. The chiefs that he was talking about, that the EC boss did not respect the chiefs and what. You go around the country telling the chiefs not to support this particular thing, calling for their support and the rest. And some of the chiefs who have stooped so low and have fallen to your this thing. To be frank with you. No. This is a national issue that we are discussing. Yes. No. Please. Allow me. I'm the one making the statement. I'm the one. I'm not sitting in the corner making the statement. So I'm not sitting in the corner making the statement.
When you come to Sadaru, I will before this.
Do you think my chief will stoop so low?
I would.
Do you think
collectively in that?
Do you think Sanaru chief will do this?
I've said that we are dragging. We are collectively.
You don't know the caliber of Sanaru chief. Sanaru chief will never stoop low to this. Even if he supports the idea, he will never come out publicly as a leader to do this.
This one is below the belt.
No. Kwame. No. Our chiefs are
made the chiefs. They don't have a man of their own.
No. Let me come. Kwame. Why is it that?
So the national house
when he was
National House of Chiefs.
Oh my friend.
We are talking about National House of Chiefs.
Let me talk.
For God's sake.
Okay, talk. How? I said, look. You said
I didn't say one particular chief. National House of Chiefs.
You are not putting to National House of Chiefs. When I say some chief.
No.
Please.
I'm sorry, you are not listening to me.
Please, you speak the same language. I speak different language.
I said National House of Chiefs.
Okay, let's continue.
It's not a particular chief. It's a National House of Chiefs.
Let's allow someone to proceed. If a chief allows himself for a politician to actually determine his level of thinking, of course, definitely, people like me will also not think in line with the politician. Even if that chief allows MPP to manipulate his thinking, I will have doubts about that chief. Because MPP, NDC, PSA are all under you. They are the one that once something happens to them, all of them will run to you. So you are a father. You don't come out openly showing where you are.
So the EC is not a father. To the extent that the EC tells you, EC tells you.
Yes. You see, you've even forgotten that you are a moderator. But let me
No.
The moderator can ask you questions. You ask me questions. So let me answer the question. You've asked me questions. You are not making my. Why? When he was making his submission, I was so quiet. He asked me questions. No, but he asked me. I'm going to answer, and you are still talking. Are you the one he asked the question?
No, it's you.
So why are you talking?
Okay, so
why is the thing choking you people like that?
You are below the belt.
Quite let me talk. The EC, as I sit here, I will never speak for the EC.
But that's exactly what you are saying.
Please, you see.
Please. Oh, honorable.
Okay, I've kept quiet.
I will never speak for the EC.
My time is up.
Neither am I speaking for the EC. I am speaking for my party.
Let me go.
And of course, myself as a senator of this country.
Thank you so much.
And I was saying, I am highly disappointed.
Listen.
Pardon my time. Pardon me. But just end. You said you are saying just end.
Come let me conclude.
No, you asked me a question. The EC is neither speaking for NPP, neither is he speaking against NDC. And the EC is speaking for Ghana per se, and of course, within the context of the Ghanaian constitution.
I see.
Yes.
That's it.
I was coming. Look. I was coming to quote the constitutional provisions. Okay, you quoted some temptations. I mean, that was not even in line with this.
No. My time is up.
Actually, you are not allowed me to do justice.
I am highly disappointed in the MPP MPs in Parliament.
Why?
I'm highly disappointed.
Why?
Do you know, in 2016, this same voters ID card, they said you cannot use it during this particular registration where the ID card they use in bringing them to Parliament, and now you are going back to tell them that they cannot use it.
You see when you narrow your mind, does it mean that
you see, this tells you that
if there was something wrong with something yesterday,
none of them will
realize that it's wrong,
Parliament.
you still close your eyes to it and use it.
I am praying that voters should reject all those who voted, those MPs, because they don't even think about them.
Because look,
most people don't have passport. Most people don't have Ghana card or ECOWAS card. Yet they use the old voters to vote for you. Now you are going into another election, and then you are telling me that document that you use in bringing me to Parliament is not valid.
Thank you. And I'm telling you that.
Thank you very much. Allow him. Kwame, my time. There's another program. 2 minutes. There's another program. My time. Thank you.
Till date,
you're speaking more than him.
Tell us whether the voters register is credible. Till date, we have been telling them from day one. Listen, from day one, we have been telling them that look, the register you claim is credible, and really is credible because you have used this same register to elect people in this country. You have used it to divide the regions. You have used it to elect two presidents. So going into 2020 elections, why can't you use it? We've asked you just a simple question. Is the voters register credible? Yes or no?
Yes,
you've not been able to answer it. And you're telling us.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Desmond. Thank you, Efiem. Listen, viewers, thank you very much. I apologize for not being able to. I apologize for not being. I apologize for not being. Ambassador Sampiele said I should tell you something. Ambassador Sampiele said I should tell you something. He said the government gave the NIA the NIA to issue Ghana identification card. The NIA law enjoins the NIA to issue Ghana identification cards, but I was issued with ECOWAS card. May I know which law supports the issuance of an ECOWAS card? The NDC pleaded in the alternative, and the Supreme Court simply asked the NDC to decide on which of the case should be adjudicated on. So it's not true that the Supreme Court struck out the first relief. Sabo, don't misinform Ghanaians. And then he said that the card issued is ECOWAS card. See the difference between the Ghana card and the ECOWAS card. So then he sent me two different cards. Two different cards. Yeah, one is Ghana card, one is ECOWAS card.
The people there
and this one is not from somebody. His own face is on it.
They are confused.
Thank you very much. I'll see you guys on Monday. Tomorrow is Alaji, and I trust they're going to have a very, very wonderful weekend. Bye bye. I'll see you guys. Bye bye.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and the champion of liberty, of human equality. Let's salute him, fellow Ghanaians, the nation's founder, Sergeant Kwame Nkrumah. May God bless him. Ghana show boy, Africa's great song, Sergeant Dr. Nkrumah.